Hi everyone, I'm Caden the Great Western Engine here, and today I'm here to rank all 14 Thomas and Friends movies. I've been wanting to make this video for a while after the success of my Thomas season ranking video, but I just never got around to making it until now because it would be an hour-long video, so I'll try to make it a shorter video as possible, especially now with 1,000 subscribers. Anyways, back to Thomas movies. Thomas movies are a complete mixed bag. Sometimes you'll either get some of the best pieces of Thomas content you've ever watched in your life, then other times you'll get the worst pieces of Thomas content you've ever watched in your life. Quick disclaimer, I will not count those Big World Adventures 20-minute specials I watched, because well, they're not films, but without further ado, let's move on to the ranking. Coming in at last place I have Misty Island Rescue. Considering I bashed on the Sharon Miller era after rewatching the entire series for the video on the Thomas seasons, Misty Island is going in dead last for me after my latest rewatch. And to be honest, it's quite a shame on how bad the movie is, because the concept of the movie was very good, but the overall execution was very poor. I'm not gonna explain why because everyone knows how bad it is. Coming in at number 13 is Day of the Diesels. Another pretty bad Thomas film. It had a good concept executed poorly. I like the idea of Percy being the main focus of the movie, but he was just so stupid in this movie. He thinks Thomas can't have friends other than him. Another problem with the movie is its morals. Thomas once again is a racist bigot and somehow acts worse than Percy. He even ignores Percy for no reason at all even when he's doing nothing. He even goes as far as to give Belle a negative impression on all the Diesels even when he has Diesel friends himself, which is stupid, but yet considered thoughtless because we see friendly Diesels in the same film, and is very hypocritical of Thomas because again, he has friends that are Diesels. The film also had potential to have a darker tone, and that was the initial script, but due to test audience reactions being that it was too frightening for a kids' movie, the final version ended up being significantly softened. Evident is certain scenes and lacked the intended darkness. Diesel 10 was meant to have a far more intimidating voice, but was changed to a more high-pitched, less intimidating voice in the final film. And having him being told off by Sir Topham Hatt like a punished child was very silly and makes him even less intimidating. This film itself feels more like a cut sequel to The Magic Railroad. The new characters add nothing to the story and are only there to sell toys. The one scene I liked about the film was the scene where all the steam engines get back to the steamworks, and that they play the main theme alongside it was also very cool. And the song that goes with the film is very good too. Coming in at number 12 is Big World Big Adventures. I know a lot of people have this movie at last place in terms of being unrealistic and cartoony, and yes, I initially had it in last place, but looking back at it, it's not as bad or boring as the previous two films I talked about before. Sure, it was the bottom of the barrel for Thomas, but yeah. Now I'm gonna keep this short because I feel like I talked about this movie way more in this channel than Misty Island and Day of the Diesels. First problem with the movie is the animation itself looks unfinished throughout. As you can tell, they cut the budget in half and rushed it into production so much, making this film look 10 times worse than the previous CGI productions. Another problem with the movie that I never talked about before is that it's somehow 10 minutes longer than Journey Beyond Sodor, which made the film drag even more. Coming in at number 11 is Calling All Engines. This movie was straight up painful to get through. I nearly died watching it just because of how much pain it was to get through this movie. This movie also doesn't feel like a movie, more like an hour-long episode. Especially with these shit-ass learning segments for babies that they could have easily cut out, and then you'll get a really good movie. I also thought that even the dialogue scenes kind of dragged out too. I feel like you could have made them more entertaining by improving the narration in both dubs, and then they wouldn't drag out like the actual product. But it does have some good moments like the fast-paced Steamies vs. Diesels action scenes, and I love the way they portrayed the Steamies vs. Diesels conflicts that in Day of the Diesels, The diesels are pricks to the engines, but the steamies are just as bad if not worse than the diesels, and there's some good diesels like Mavis and Rusty that they showed. Overall, this movie was a snoozefest for probably the most part. Coming in at number 10 is The Great Race, which was pretty underwhelming. My main problem with the movie is that there is way too many new characters, and they all were never fleshed out or developed except for Rashimu maybe. The others felt like they were there to sell toys, even if they never made all the toys for all the characters, so some of them were kind of just pointless, and the bridge jump was just unrealistic and pointless other than to sell a play set of it. But it does have some great moments, like the songs were great, and I like that the Flying Scotsman was in this movie and not forgotten about since he's Gordon's brother. Those are all I can think of because there is so much nothingness in this. Coming in at number 9 is Journey Beyond Sodor. Slightly better than The Great Race, I thought the story was better and the pacing was better too, and I loved the new character of Merlin. He is easily the best of the new characters. Theo I thought was fine, and Hurricane and Frankie I thought were okay villains, I guess. But the cons remain, one of them being the bouncing. That's not actually my main problem with the film, that's something I can deal with. It's the other unrealistic parts, like with Thomas falling and yet he is still fine. What the actual fuck? I thought Thomas fell in the cavern before in Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure and he looked really bad after that. This is a huge retcon. Another is that the other new characters are not that great. Lexi I thought was kinda annoying, but the worst character of them all, Beresford, him and all his scenes have no reason to exist. They could have cut out all the scenes with him and then the movie will be better. Overall, this was a completely fine like 6 out of 10 movie. My voice line also just like randomly cut off like right as I was finishing up this paragraph, so I don't know what you heard or I said anymore, so excuse that. But coming in number 8 is Thomas and the Magic Railroad. If you follow me on Letterboxd, you'll know I had Thomas and the Magic Railroad below The Great Race and Journey Beyond Sodor, but I mostly loved it due to nostalgia. I didn't mind its flaws, but now I think it's an okay movie. The plot is very confusing as hell. Why would you call this film Thomas and the Magic Railroad when Thomas is only important for 12% of the film and is mainly focused on uninteresting human characters, like Mr. Conductor, Junior, Burnett, Lily and Patch, with some of them being a bunch of idiots too. The voices on most of the engines are very atrocious. James sounds so horrendously feminine, and Percy sounds a bit feminine too, although he does sound really good. The acting performances from Peter Fonda is okay at best, but it kinda looks like he is trying too hard to be depressed, and older Matilda was good but she kinda just keeps her mouth open throughout the entire film. Also, Thomas was never about gold dust or Thomas magically sinking into the underground, and the crashes have almost no suspense at all aside from Diesel 10 falling, but the engine stuff is incredible, and that's why people defend this film just cause they're so blinded by nostalgia. Coming in at number 7 is King of the Railway. While there is some flaws like the animation and visuals aren't that great, they're pretty basic. The movie feels like 4 plots meshed into one movie, and it can drag on at times. It's another very solid like 6.5 out of 10 film. I love the new characters like Stephen and Millie. I thought they were very entertaining, and I liked Stephen's backstory even of Edward. Toby and Emily are the oldest in reality. I don't have much to say about the film. Coming in at number 6 is Hero of the Rails, one of the most overrated Thomas films just because it came out during the awful Miller era. I really liked Spencer as the main villain. I thought it worked very well. I loved the scene where Spencer in putting down Thomas and immediately all the engines jumps in to defend Thomas. I really loved the new character of Hero. His backstory was great, even if it completely retcons the history of Sodor since Edward was the first engine to be on Sodor, but the scene with Hero falling apart while rolling along was intense, and the other new characters were great too. My gripes are the constant rhyming and alliteration, and my biggest gripe of all, the narrator will never shut up. These trains can talk now and kids can figure out on their own on what's going on in this film. Kicking off the top 5 is The Great Discovery, but a great final goodbye to the full model era, and honestly a great model series finale. I really love the idea of an old mining town that was abandoned long ago and fills in the empty spots of the map that have never been touched before. The model sets are amazing, and the crashes are top-notch, especially the tower collapsing. And Thomas being alone and feeling like he can't talk to anyone about his problems really makes him a likable and relatable main protagonist. But other than the positives, there are some negatives about this film. The middle part kinda drags a lot, and Stanley isn't a very well-developed character. The only personality he has is that he's better than Thomas, and I'm not a big fan of James Bond Pierce Brosnan's narration. I loved him in his movies like James Bond, but this movie ain't it. He sounds like he's telling a bedtime story than an actual Thomas story, and oftentimes I cannot hear what he is saying and I would have to turn up my volume to actually hear him. Overall a great movie. Next we're finally getting to the amazing movies is Tale of the Brave. I loved this movie very much. I liked how we focused on 3 main characters of Thomas, Percy and James. I thought they were portrayed very well except for James, which I'll get into later. I liked the new character of Gator. I thought he was interesting, and the ending was emotional. This movie itself was pretty emotional too at times. My only 2 problems of that James is a complete dick to Percy way too much and now he can't pull the mail train, and the song at the end credits was terrible. Overall an A-tier movie. Number 3 we have The Adventure Begins. I love this movie, 98% of it. It's probably the best remakes we've ever had and maybe the only good one here I think. I'm not a fan of remakes, especially the Disney ones, but this one was so damn good. They did an amazing job on remaking the first 2 Railway series book and the first 7 episodes of season 1. However, my problems are that Henry is still in his new shape instead of his old shape. Could be due to budget. Another is that Thomas arrived on Sodor right after Edward Henry Gordon and James came, when in reality Thomas and Edward were the first engines to arrive on the Northwestern Railway together. That is why Thomas is number 1 and Edward is number 2, which proved why the Thomas fandom considers CGI and the model series as 2 different canons, and I do too. And I hate that he was scared of the rain. I don't know anyone that treat train like drops of lava, so this was just really stupid, and Thomas is too nice in this one instead of being rude and cheeky. Overall an amazing movie. Number 2 is Blue Mountain Mystery. This was a very surprisingly good movie. It came out at the time where we thought Thomas was dead, but yeah, this movie was amazing. Thomas was portrayed much better than in the previous 2 movies. The animation is amazing throughout. The environment looked very nice, this scene was beautiful, and I loved that they brought the narrow-gauge engines back. Victor became a more interesting character with a very tragic backstory, and the new character Luke was great too. I have no cons whatsoever. And coming in at number 1 easily the best movie of all time goes to Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure. This movie was absolutely outstanding. Every single thing about it was outstanding. I loved every character, especially Sailor John. He was very intimidating, and the animation was absolutely gorgeous. They made sure this was the most cinematic film of all time. I may not like Sir Topham Hatt in the film, but that doesn't matter. This movie made me miss 2015, and I should have started my channel, but I was too lazy and school got in the way of me a lot during that time. But this movie will remain the pivotal point of Thomas the Tank Engine movies. Now you've made it all the way to the end of the video, but first of all I want to thank you all so much for getting me up to 1,000 subscribers. You guys are the absolute best. I really appreciate all the support for this channel, and I think this channel deserves more attention than it's already is getting. Now I can do more on this channel maybe. I already have a lot of plans for my next videos, but I'm waiting until the next couple months to do it, because I want to start doing monthly uploads for now, where I upload once a month, instead of doing them like 10 times a month and then there comes the lack of videos for probably 10 months, so I'll just do the scripts for them at some point. But yeah, I also want to thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a comment, like and subscribe and turn on notification bell for more content. Follow me on X or Twitter at KadenTheGWR1500. I forgot to change it to Kaden the GWR Engine a week after my last video like I wanted to do, so I don't know when I'll change it. Follow me on TikTok. I'll still to finish up setting everything up on TikTok, and then I'll be done. Follow me on Letterboxd. This is where I rank and review all the movies I've seen, and last but not least, I finally have Instagram. I tried to make an Insta a year ago, it didn't work, and the one that I wanted to log back into got taken down, so I made another one using another email, so if you have Insta, follow me on there. Anyways, this is Kaden the Great Western Engine, signing out.